Hey guys, I wanted to share a message um, about true prayer and healing. And I'm all for true prayer and healing that will quote unquote heal the nation, etc., especially after the events that are going on right now. And I just wanted to share some things that actually work. And, you know, it all comes from a misunderstanding of the true nature of God because traditional prayer, people are crying out and I know most of the churches that I grew up in, they have God as picking sides that pray for this nation because it's on the brink of disaster, and they see God as picking sides that they don't see God as perfect love and unconditional love, and that means that it's the acceptance of all things. That doesn't mean somehow they have this concept that if we just love a situation that the power of love is not good enough, and they jump to this knee-jerk reaction. So you're just saying everything that happens is okay? No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is we don't have a godless nation. It's not that people aren't praying enough. It's that they have the wrong concept of the God they've been taught and through mistranslation of scripture. And so they think there's a problem and there's this evil out there. And, I look at nature and it goes on beautifully. The sun comes up perfectly tomorrow. So where is all this conflict? Where is all this quote unquote evil happening? It's really happening within, and the concepts we've been taught about God. And, we've been taught that God's in a battle. So guess what? We've got political sides in this country battling. We've been taught that my book's better than your book. So we've got one religion um, fighting other religions. I know they wouldn't say that, but it's really true. Probably the two most misinterpreted books is causing us to fight over a piece of dirt in the Middle East because of a mistranslation of what it actually was about. And it was about the completion of intimacy with God and all men. And God's not out there trying to correct right from wrong, right versus left, my religion versus your religion, my book's better than your book, my political party is better than your political party. So this concept that we got to pray for this guy because that's God's anointed guy for the moment is not true. The acceptance of love is everything's okay. And here's what really works, guys. And I truly do want peace. I truly do want wholeness. I truly do want the true nature of God, which is peace and harmony and love, and the more than enough flow of health, of abundance of all things is how we're naturally supposed to live. If you go look at nature, there's enough supply of everything. We're swimming in this abundance of God. And so anything I'm experiencing that is not true to that is something that I've believed about myself and God that probably doesn't feel good. And if I allow myself to love those feelings, which just means it's okay for me to feel this anxiety a minute, this tension a minute, instead of going, we need to pray for this country because there's something bad. It's really recognizing, how do I feel when I see things like that, and it probably makes us feel discomfort. And so if you can really understand this, go, I'm going to allow this discomfort to just be here a minute and flow out of me. Because then what's truly left is all the negative emotion, all the energy that I'm paying attention to, which is the creative ability of God, dissolves out of me. And then all that's left is my true nature and your true nature, which is there's more than enough. There's harmony. It's not right versus wrong. Is that when you feel whole and loved, you don't feel like you have to go defeat some other person who has a different viewpoint of you or anything like that. Natural love, natural peace, natural harmony, which is truly how we're supposed to live, becomes the natural way to live. And so I just want to share this with you that um, has the results to prove it, which is really interesting. And so I'm going to just give you, some of you guys are familiar with this, that out of Greg Braden's Divine Matrix, Rhonda Burns, The Greatest Secret, and Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural, they all share these concepts that are used around the world. And it's very different than the prayer that I grew up with. In fact, prayer really in its prayer, worship, all these things, and its true meaning in scripture is to have the intimacy with God. And so let me just read something, because I truly do want peace. And even pastors, religious leaders, etc. What if what if in English it really says love keeps no record of wrong, instead of going, we must pray for this guy to get in because if not, this country is going to do X. That is not the concept of God. That creates fear, that creates anxiety. Even saying it, I know, like I know where people are at because that's kind of the God I grew up with. But your heart knows that's not true. Your heart's going, why would God be this way? And he's not. It's God is perfect love, always has been, always will. You're perfect. You've always been God's highest creation, and there's only good news in the good news. So let me just explain. If you're truly interested in change, which I am, let me just share these concepts with you. And we can bring a lot of change to a lot of people in a hurry. And so this is out of the Divine Matrix, Greg Braden's book. And he talks about in 1972, in 24 cities in the US with populations over 10,000, experienced meaningful changes in their communities when as few as 1%, 100 people. So a city of 10,000, 100 people immediately changed the whole environment of the city, not by traditional prayer, not by going, God, please show up, as if we're begging this God out of distress. It would be better to go, I feel really distressed. I feel really discomforting, like maybe a lot of you guys do after the news and different things like that. Because we know that's not true. This shouldn't happen. So the solution is not getting God to come and beat those other guys up and beat that other side up. The solution is to let go of all this negative energy, which is not love, in myself. And the best way to do that is go, I'm going to allow myself to feel that negative energy a minute. I realize I'm stressing myself out here. I'm worried about this country. I'm worried about this party. I'm worried about this. And I'm just going to allow myself to feel this negative, cringe-worthy feeling a minute. It's okay for you to be here. It's okay. I just love you. It literally dissolves. And what these studies are showing, when you feel peace within yourself, it has a magnifying effect to people all over the world. And so 100 people in 10,000 cities, when 1% of the population practiced this method, they saw a reduction in violence and crime in that population very quickly. These and similar studies led to a landmark project, the International Peace Project in the Middle East, published in the Journal of Conflict Resolution in 1988. During the Israeli-Lebanese War of the early 1900s, practitioners were trained in these precise techniques of meditation. We could just call it prayer. And what they did, it says, rather than simply thinking about it or praying for it to occur, or traditional prayer, how I was taught, which is probably being taught in most of these, is this is a godless society. This is God showing his anger to us. This is the result of we're not worshiping the true God. We're not giving God allegiance. We're not putting the 10 Commandments in schools, all the stuff that's happening right now, as if there's something immediately wrong. Versus if they had the concept of what God truly is, which is pure love, pure harmony, etc., they could go, hey, kids, hey, church congregation, when you feel that anything other than love for that other party, for what happened, that's a signal to you to let go of that negative energy. And when you do, as I'll quote Rhonda Burns here before I get to it, because I'm going to share her last. She goes, when all those negative concepts and wrong concepts about the true nature of God and the true nature of you and the true nature of the other political party, the other religion, the other people, and realize they are all God's highest creation, they're all perfectly loved, the atomic power of love will naturally take its place and heal all by itself, because that's the true nature flowing out of us. And we've just covered it up with ideas that is not God. So sadly, as I've shared over and over, people become like the God they worship. So if they think God is out there conquering good versus evil, my party is more righteous than your party, we get what we got. So here's what they did. Rather than simply thinking about, please God, bring me peace, or God, show up. If I beg and borrow and plead enough and in my knees, he'll finally move. None of us have to do that to get loved ones. If any of our kids or spouses or grandkids or friends, people we loved, they don't have to beg and plead on their knees like that. The minute we go, oh, if we have truly love and compassion, we'll move. Oh, of course. So instead of simply praying about it in their minds or praying for it to occur, please God, heal this nation, they felt peace within their own bodies. They allowed all the feelings that were not peaceful to leave their own bodies, and the energy, the Spirit of God that naturally flows out of them, which has the atomic power to change a lot, naturally brought peace. So when they experienced peace in their own bodies, it says, Incidents of crime, crimes against people, emergency visits, traffic accidents all declined. They didn't pray to God. They realized I'm one with God. I'm going to allow any concept other than love to dissolve out of me, and the love that's always in me will naturally heal and bring true peace to what I'm talking about. Now, this gets really good. Dr. Dispenza goes into even more depth on this. And let's see. Yeah, I've got it bookmarked so I can get to it. All right. The history of peace gathering projects. This is not a traditional Western prayer meeting where they're praying for this candidate or God's got his hand on this nation. Everything that is created out of the same thing, which is the presence of God. So God's got his hand on every nation. I know that just flies in the face of what you've been taught because your nation's better than the other nation and your God's better than that God. And we have this Old Testament view of God, which are 100% mistranslations that God would kill anybody. That's not how it works. So a powerful example is the Lebanon Peace Project, which this is what Dr. Braden was talking about too. The Lebanon Peace Project, which brought together a group of meditators in Jerusalem in August, September of 1983, to demonstrate the radiating influence of peace, meaning when they felt peace in their own body, it actually brought peace to the whole area. Although the number of meditators fluctuated over time, it was often large enough to achieve a super radiance effect for both Israel and nearby Lebanon. This effect happens when a group of specially trained meditators, you don't need to be specially trained. This is all natural to you. You don't have to be a master. You don't have to be a yogi. You don't have to do any of this. Is if you go, wait a minute, I'm recognizing I'm feeling anything other than pure peace right now. I'm okay with this anxious feeling I have a minute. I'm just going to allow you to be here. It's okay. I love you. It's okay for this anxious feeling to be here. It'll naturally dissolve. You don't have to be a yogi. It's natural to you. It'll happen for you. So anyway, whether they're specially trained or not, I just specially trained you. There's no more training required. When they would come together, the result of the 2-month study showed that on the days when there was high participation of meditators, get this, guys, we talk about a reduction of a couple of percent in inflation. We get excited about a couple of percent reduction in crime, of world peace. A handful of people that were taught their true nature, which is the perfection and love and natural flow of life of God, wasn't 2%, wasn't 3%. When they experienced peace in their own bodies, they just let go of any emotion and energy that wasn't peaceful. Meaning, God, you need to show up is not peaceful. There's something wrong with this country is not peaceful. And I'm not, it's not the people's fault. This is what they've been so incorrectly taught by schools and religious institutions, etc. It's not how it works. When they felt peace in their own body, listen to this, a 76% reduction in war deaths occurred, reduced crime, reduced fires, decreased traffic accidents, less terrorism, and an increase in economic growth, meaning their economy started to heal by itself. Everything went away immediately. 76%, guys. What if we had a 76% increase in our economy? What if we had a 76% increase of everything that's good, of abundance, of flow, of people loving each other, of peace, where we're not infighting of political parties, etc. That's the true prayer that heals a nation. Then he continues. In what's considered one of the top 3 peace gathering studies in the Western Hemisphere, the RAND Corporation think tank assembled a group of 8,000 trained meditators. Guys, it doesn't take a lot. Just welcome any feeling. Don't try to change it. Don't try to get rid of it. Just go, I realize I'm feeling anxious. I realize I'm feeling fearful for my country. I'm just welcome that feeling. I'm gonna allow that feeling to be here and allow myself to experience it in it. Because it gets swallowed up by the true nature, which is the love of God. And if you just do it, just go, I'm gonna allow myself to experience this negative energy a minute, this negative emotion, this cringeworthy fear, this fear of, my God, what's wrong with our country? If you just really open up, guys, just allow it to be there. It's okay. I'm just going to love this feeling, which is the same thing as I'm just going to allow it to be there and allow myself to experience it in your true nature, which is the perfection of God, guys. That energy will release all by itself and you will feel a relief. You'll feel a sigh. It naturally dissolves. And that peace you're feeling in your own body, don't think it's nothing. Don't think it's small, guys. These people understood if I feel feeling that we're going to achieve a 76% reduction like that. Imagine if people, instead of complaining about taxes, I know I'm hitting heart buttons of you Western Christians, of imagine if you stop this nonsense of God's for the Republicans versus the Democrats, or if you're on the other side, you think God's for the Democrats and against these rascally Republicans. Imagine if you just let all those ideas dissolve out of you, those uncomfortable feelings of anger, of fear, anxiousness that you have for these other people. Just allow yourself to experience those emotions. It'll dissolve out, and all that's left is the pure love of God. If we did that, how about a 76% increase in our economy? That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? all these worries about Social Security is not going to be here. We could solve that, guys. We could solve that if we actually truly pray. So they had 8,000 meditators during 3 periods ranging from 8 to 11 days each, from 1983 to 1985. The results showed that during this time, worldwide terrorism was reduced by 70%. Guys, we got people praying on both sides of the aisle, whether Christian, Muslims, and increase in war and territory is gone up because they think God's on their side. So one study, they had a 76% reduction in everything that was bad, and the natural flow of love, of life, of harmony, of abundance, of economic growth all increased. Another one was 72. That's pretty good. Can you imagine? Yeah, they said the results show that during this time, worldwide terrorism was reduced by 72%. Can you imagine the results and positive effects, as well as the speed which they would occur if this type of meditation, or if this true love of God, the true nature of who you are and who God is, were taught in the educational curriculum? And I would say this, in every religious Christian church and every religious Muslim church, what if the true nature of God was actually taught? And still another study, this one was very real to me because I remember being in Europe at an Air Force base when I was still at the Air Force Academy with one of my friends, Chase. And we were in the officers' quarters, and I lived through this. This is really wild, where all of a sudden this news flash came on, and we were in the officers' quarters. I was like, Chase, come here. Like literally the Berlin Wall is coming down. Like all these wonderful, peaceful things started to happen. I didn't know the story behind it. Now I know the story behind it. In this time in India, from 1987 to 1990, 7,000 people gathered, and they experienced peace within their own heart. During that 3-year period, the world witnessed remarkable transformation towards world peace. The Cold War ended. Think about that, guys. The Cold War ended. Like, I remember from being a little kid in school, having these drills where we would hide under these little school desks, if that's going to help you. And it brought fear and terror to kids going, hey, we never know. What if the Soviets, what if these guys, our enemies, are going to drop bombs on us? See, what's really wild is if everybody truly understood their true nature, all of that would go away. As if somehow that little school desk was going to help me. But anyway, it brought fear. And then it brought, those guys are bad. The evil empire, right? During that 3-year period, the world witnessed remarkable transformations toward world peace. The Cold War ended. The Berlin Wall came down. I remember experiencing this like, whoa, there's something transformational happening, because I was at a military academy, and the next year I was going to go into this potential conflicts. The Iran-Iraq war came to an end, which is a miracle in itself. The 2 different factions in those areas of Muslims ended. Not really, because then they went right back to, hey, God's for my side. South Africa began to move toward abolishing apartheid, and terrorist attacks subsided. Isn't that amazing? And so, and all of it's the same. And I'll finish with this. This is out of Rhonda Burns' The Greatest Secret. Now, this seems counterintuitive to everything you're taught. And she says this. Well, let me back. This is from page 128, because it kind of talks about this. When we experience negative emotions, it's really there for us. It's not because God's angry and causing this to happen and showing his displeasure towards humanity. That is a mistranslation of an angry God outside of yourself versus what we know to be true, that everything contains the love and harmony of life within itself. People go, where does evil come from? From our concepts that we're taught that are not true about who we are in God. Do I doubt the ability for human beings to use the spirit of God, their creative ability of God from within themselves to create evil? No, but it's not two evil forces out there fighting each other. They're just using their creative gift in the wrong way. If they understood they were loved and whole, etc., love has no concept of having to go hurt somebody else. It just doesn't. So she says, imagine if every negative feeling, or we could say these negative events on earth, which happens, here in the United States, to alert you to the fact that you're believing stories that are not true. So you can welcome those feelings of fear, of anxiousness, of something's wrong with our country, pray harder. No, no, no. It's there for you to go, wait a minute. I'm believing the wrong concept about those people, that other side, etc. If I welcome those negative feelings and go, I'm going to allow myself to feel that negative energy, those feelings that cause fear, that anxiety, because I know that's not the true nature of God. Just allow it to be there. It dissolves out of me. And I naturally experience peace because that's the natural flow of God. It says, isn't that ironic that negative feelings, once the thing we do everything we can to avoid or pray harder to get my God to beat your God, are the very things that would liberate us if we knew how to pray correctly, is what I would say. So she says this, how do you welcome feelings about subjects that you have strong opinion about or strong stances against, like cruelty to animals? Now, I'm going to try to get both sides, so I'm not picking sides here. But how do you do this? How do you love, even though in English we're taught God keeps no record of wrong, Christians leave that one at the door most of the time. It's not what it says, but anyway, let's just say that, and love your neighbor as yourself. Let's just try those on for a size. What do we do when we see our political side being hurt? You mean I'm supposed to love the other political person and the person that did this? Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the true nature of God. God's not on this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle. God's not in this religion or that side of the religion. I know you're going to get mad at me, but that's not true. I want a 76%, 72% reduction in crime, 76% reduction in poverty. These politicians are boasting up there going, I reduced this. No, no, no. If you taught people who they truly were, everything takes care of itself, because the love of God, the nature of God, the harmony of God, the peace of God, everything that's natural takes care of itself. What's unnatural is all these concepts that my country's better, your country's worse, my religion's better, yours worse. That's all divisive, guys. So how do we love feelings about subjects we have strong opinions about? Religion, we have a very strong opinion about. My God versus your God. Politics, we have a strong opinion about. My side versus your side. Good versus evil. Good needs to fight evil. Evil's a mistranslation. I'm not saying people can't use their energy in anger, fear, etc., to create negative things. They do it all the time. But there's nothing out there that you need to worry about to go fight. Fighting will get you more energy that creates more fighting, right? She says, understand that bad feelings you feel around that political part. She doesn't say this, but she says, understand that bad feelings you feel around that subject are causing you harm, and not actually, if you're truly interested in healing this country, if you're truly interested in world peace, which I am, not my conquering, you conquering, then you would do this because it's causing you harm and not actually helping. So if you're truly interested in making a difference, here's actually what works. When you welcome those sensations and feeling those sensations that the subject may evoke about you. So what does the other side of the political aisle evoke about you? What does the other religions evoke about you? What does oh boy, in this country, like what is a Supreme Court justice that you don't agree with invoke about you? They're just as created in the nature of God as you are. All those are wrong concepts. If it creates something negative or we need to fight, pray harder, that is not the true nature of God. It's the true nature of the religious God you've been introduced to, but that's why it's not working very well. When you welcome your disapproval, when you welcome those feelings of unfairness and injustice, keep welcoming until there is literally no sensation left when you think about the subject. Meaning, peace is everything's okay. And welcoming is simply this: instead of going, I'm angry, so I need to pray harder, it could be this: man, when I see what happens, when I turn on the TV, when I hear these religious guys talk and my God's better than your God, how does that make you feel? And just recognize how you feel and go, oh, I recognize that this stirs up this uncomfortable feeling of anger, or I need to be vengeful and get back at the other side. And true love is just the acceptance of all things. It's literally not trying to change that feeling, not trying to pray harder, not trying to get God to move. It's like, oh, oh, it's okay for me to feel that feeling a minute. I'm just allow myself to be okay. And instead of trying to push that feeling down, instead of trying to have any of these religious concepts, I'm just going to love that feeling. And the easiest way to love is just to breathe, as we've been talking about. Just take some deep breaths. Just go, I'm going to allow myself to feel that anxious feeling a minute. I'm just going to let it be there without trying to change it. It's okay for me to feel that. It'll naturally dissolve because the true nature of God is the love and perfection of you. It does. Love truly just sucks up all that negative and potent negative energy that you have. And she says this: you might think that you don't want to stop that feeling of pain. You might think, like, what is Mike saying? I'm supposed to love the Democrats, I'm supposed to love the Republicans, I'm supposed to love the Muslims, I'm supposed to love the take any really hot button issue, the sex traffickers. That's the latest thing we're supposed to be really upset about. Please hear me. I am not saying that is okay for other people to take advantage of these young kids. I'm saying that the solution is not to be against those sex traffickers. That causes more sex traffickers. The solution, if we're truly interested in the solution, which I am, is go, I'm going to let all the feelings I have, because obviously those people that are doing something like that have a wrong concept of who they are. If they felt perfectly loved and whole within themselves, there would be no rule required for them to keep from doing that to another person. The love and nature that's naturally in them can't conceive of hurting that other person. It would bring harmony to the situation and stop it versus fighting against it. So, are you saying I'm supposed to love these people and just accept that that's okay? No, I'm not saying that. This is the story the mind is telling you, and the very opposite is true. Your strong resistance to a subject energizes it. It adds a lot of energy and power. That's the creative ability of God, the energy flowing out of you. That only makes that situation bigger. But when you allow yourself to feel those negative feelings, she says, release the negative feelings. You are releasing all the energy that you have focused around this subject, all the wrong beliefs you have, and it is disempowering the circumstances around the subject. This is the money line. Without that negative emotion, your love and compassion, which will naturally arise in place of the negative emotions, have atomic power, and that's what brings the change to the world. When they didn't pray for peace, when they didn't pray for this country, when they let go of any concept of this country's godless, it's bad, etc., God's vengeance is coming. Imagine a little 6-year-old kid sitting in church and he's happy as a clam. He's and all of a sudden he hears this: God's coming back soon. He's going to judge you. Oh, that's translations. Happy as a clam, and all of a sudden he's got this: Mom and Dad, what's going on? You want to bring peace to your house, Mom and Dad? You allow any feeling of there's something wrong with this country to flow out of you. You'll bring to your peace to your house. You'll bring peace to the whole country. So much so, when they experience peace in their own bodies, almost immediately they had a 72% or 76%, meaning a high result with a small number of people. Reduction in terrorism, reduction in this infighting that we're seeing right now, especially not only in the United States, but particularly because I live here, but it's universal how this works. The economy will start to happen all by itself. Sicknesses go down, fear of viruses, fear of all this stuff goes away. And the true nature of love, the true nature of harmony, the true power of God that's always abundant, the true economy starts to flourish again, and all is well. That's the true prayer and healing if you're willing to do it. And it just comes from knowing that the true nature of God is love, it's harmony. When I'm okay with allowing myself to feel whatever I need to feel in the moment, it'll naturally dissolve out of the pure love that's in you and literally brings effects beyond your wildest imagination to everybody, everything around you. So hope that helps, guys, because I know it works if you're willing to do it.